Let's go to yung latest na napanalo, no? May 2025, if I'm not mistaken, yung kay Kokoy Romualdez. This is a Coco levy case, I understand. When I went back to the records of the case, parang 2003 pa naman technically napanalo na ni Kokoy Romualdez. It's just that the Sandiganbayan said, oh, we will take custody of these assets first kasi kailangan meron kaming maibalik. And it was actually the Supreme Court in July 2022, again, when BBM was already president, na kumbaga nagpaandar na lang na parang, oh, ibalik nyo na. You have no legal basis to still hold custody of that assets. First question, sir, how much ba yung maibabalik sa mga Romualdez? This is the father of House Speaker Martin Romualdez. How much ba ang pinag-uusapan natin? And number two, parang bakit ganon katagal from 2003? Tapos ngayon lang talagang napaandar. Ganon ba talaga yung kalakaran sa ganitong complex cases?
So there's three aspects to this and let me try to simplify them because they are complex. These cases involve assets that belong to corporations that were dummy corporations created by the Romualdez family. So the father of Martin Romualdez, Benjamin Romualdez, who was ambassador of Marcos to the UK, to Saudi Arabia, to the US, everywhere, there were criminal cases against him. They were dismissed because he died. So the Martin Romualdez, Benjamin Romualdez family, his mother is named Juliet Romualdez, and as far as I know, she's still alive. So they created dummy companies. They used these companies to take over Meralco, to take over newspapers. So what became, I think, the Times Journal, also the Daily Express. They used these companies to take over what used to be Equitable Bank, if I'm not mistaken,
PCI.
Which is now Banco de Oro. PCI Bank, and now Banco de Oro because of the mergers. In other words, controlling interest in, I think, the biggest bank in the Philippines. Benguet Mining Corporation. So when you see the title of the case, you don't recognize Trans Middle East Corporation.
Yes, correct.
What is that? So you don't care. It's only when you realize that this was essentially the shell company, just the pretend company with Martin Romualdez and his family sitting there as directors and stockholders, controlling the takeover by the Romualdez and Marcos families of these key industries. Imagine that: water, electricity, banking, gold mining. So when Imelda Marcos says, it's mine, the joke, it's also literally true. They went into mining. The PCGG went after these assets, sequestered the assets, and so this recent decision is about that sequestration. Long story short, the sequestration was lifted, but the Romualdez family, for some reason, never tried to enforce the lifting of the sequestration until it was too late. Until, of course, Marcos Jr. became president, in which case it wasn't too late anymore. So can you imagine that? It was too late, and then now it's not too late anymore. The reason the case one reason the case lasted so long is because, and this is also present in other PCGG cases where significant assets and corporations are involved. The Lopez family wanted to get back Meralco, wanted to get back some of the assets they had in these companies. And so they also joined the case filed against the Romualdez family. So it's the Republic, represented by the PCGG, the Lopez family, and the Marcos and Romualdez family on the other side. Because the Lopezes have deep pockets. They have the money. May pera sila to keep going, unlike the PCGG, na dependent ka on these government lawyers at the OSG. The Lopez family kept funding the lawyers to go back and forth at the Sandiganbayan, all the way up to the Supreme Court, down again and back. That's why the case kept going. Now, the reason I mentioned Juliet Romualdez, the mother, is because just before this decision, maybe about 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, the Lopez family wanted to take her deposition, wanted her to testify to show exactly how the Romualdez family acquired these assets, what money they used to acquire these assets, and to show that these were in fact acquired using intimidation and pressure on the Lopezes. Of course, the Romualdez family argued she's old, she's frail, she's too sick. This is the same Juliet Romualdez who, together with Martin Romualdez, we still found $5 million in Swiss bank accounts in 2001 when I was PCGG commissioner. And this was already just their loose change left behind. So there was a lot still to litigate, and then suddenly it's gone.